So I think I've done some of the housekeeping. It's not normally my role, but I'm here with it. So yes, want to just go through some of the housekeeping. We're asking you if you can keep your mic muted so that we have a good broadcast quality. Um, you can raise your hand and we will allow you to ask questions at points where the facilitator is ready to accept questions. We will, however, at some point in time during the presentation, make the opportunity available to you to ask your questions. All right. So that's basically what it is that I wanted to share. Tonight, we have the pleasure of having our counseling psychologist, my brother of many years, Brother Andre Allen Casey, my star counseling psychologist. And this is also validated by the fact that he is not able to sit for a minute because people need his services. So Brother Andre has been a Christian for, let's say, 33 years. I think it's more than that. No. And he was trained in Alabama and did Bachelor's of Arts there, and then he went on to do his master in counseling at Northern Caribbean. Having said all of that, the most important thing about Brother Andre is that he makes sense, and consequently, it's best to listen to what he has to say. All right, so Brother Andre, over to you.
Thank you so very much, Brother Smith. I think I have an apology to give. I should probably start off with an apology. Let me bring up my slide here. Maybe I need help to do this again. Let me say share screen, right? And then I'll click on to this one. Yes.
Your volume sounds a little low to me. I don't know if it is
Oh, sorry. Let me try. Let me see if maybe. Oh, I think that's the best I can do.
Okay.
I don't know if everybody else can hear me well. Yes. Nobody can just comment on that.
Loud and clear.
Yes.
Loud and clear. Okay. Okay. Excellent. Excellent. What is the apology? The apology is I just have a funny feeling that I've done this before. What I can present here, I have a funny feeling that I've done it before. But if it is new for some folks, excellent. If it is not new for some folks, then it can serve as a good refresher. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and begin. Overcoming our fears. Let me also change this. I'm sorry for the delay. I'm hoping to finish this today. I'm going to give you an opportunity to talk, to share back on what I've used, so with that said, the COVID-19, I do believe is one of those situations that has really brought out a lot of fear in a number of us, and it continues to do so. But, and understandably so, this might be a very good time for us to talk about overcoming our fears because of this pandemic that we find ourselves in. But I suspect that there are other fears that many of us do continue to, unfortunately, it cripples us and interferes with how we function. And by and large, if we do not start to put things in place to manage our fears, and I might even go as far as to use the word anxieties too, but the truth is they are slightly different. Notwithstanding, if we do not start to put things in place, then unfortunately, when an event occurs in our lives, one that is not welcoming, or one that we do not suspect, then our fears can take over and it can literally immobilize us. We will be looking at the four that accompanies our fears oftentimes. And we just want to ensure that we build the right memory muscle, or muscle memory, so that if and when a situation occurs in our lives, while we might have fear, we ensure that we have the appropriate response to those fears. Okay, that being said, what is fear? Fear is an obsessive state of anxiety that halts progress. It literally robs boldness and the progress, of course, in all areas of our lives. It has not only challenged us individually, it is the enemy of our nation. We are afraid of what is happening to our economy, to our education, to our environment, to our personal lives. We are afraid of the kind of relationships that we might have, and even how fears can affect those relationships also. His name is Henry Nouwen, if I'm pronouncing his name correctly, who writes extensively on fear and love. And in his book, Lives in Intimacy, Fruitfulness in the Christian Perspective, he said that different people are afraid of failure, the future, war, rejection, intimacy, success, taking responsibility, conflict, meaninglessness in life, which is sometimes called existential anxiety, sickness, death, loneliness, change. And I just want to put these things out there. Now, will we get a chance to look at these in details? Maybe no, maybe yes. But even if we have to do a part two in relating to some of these, if we have to come back to this slide, then yes, we want to look at these things, because the truth be told, these are real or imagined possibilities. And oftentimes it interferes, again, as I've said before, with our progress. Sometimes these fears can be built in one's mind and create extreme anxiety, even in the absence of any real danger. And that is the amazing aspect of our managing and dealing with our fears, because as stated here, sometimes, and I did say, sometimes these fears can build up in a person's mind and create what? Extreme anxiety, even in the absence of any real danger. So we allow the fear to drive us, when in truth and in fact, we don't even have the facts. We don't even have the facts that should authentically generate that fear. The facts to authentically generate that fear. So, failure, future, war, rejection, fear of rejection. A lot of folks, in as far as their own relationships are concerned, because they are fearful of how they might be treated, it interferes with the progress that they're going to make. It interferes with consulting. It interferes with coming forward and having even a conversation with somebody, because we start to create in our brains, in our minds, what is the person going to say? I wonder if they're going to like me. I wonder if I'm too tall. I wonder if I'm too short. You know, and so we start to not only a wonder, but have a lot of what ifs. So a wonder and what ifs oftentimes can plague us, and it interferes with our progress. Again, we unfortunately just start to put some things on people that people don't even know that were put on them. You know, so we are fearful of intimacy. I don't want it to go to the right or the left, but I want to say this. I invite you first and foremost to accept you seriously. Sometimes they say, we give so much folks so much power over us. And so because of that, again, we develop all these different types of fears because we give people too much power over us. When in truth and in fact, suppose you see we gave ourselves the power instead. Write that down. Suppose we gave ourselves the power instead. Suppose I said, no, what am I afraid of you for? What am I afraid of this for? You know, that's all I'm saying. Suppose we gave ourselves the power instead, rather than giving the power over to the person or even sometimes to the situation. And so sometimes as the folks, unfortunately, we start off with giving the power to the situation and even to the person, and do not give ourselves the power. And if we don't give ourselves the power, understand that we're setting up ourselves to continue to allow fear to interfere with again, how we proceed and how we progress in different areas of our lives and living. Fear of taking responsibility. That's an amazing aspect and thing also, you know, folks. Fear of taking responsibility. Where sometimes, boy, you know, when we're bringing up our children, we try to remind them that, listen, you have to learn to take responsibility. But we are so quick on blaming people and blaming other folks and things like that, and dismissing ourselves from certain kind of responsibilities because we also don't want to deal with the consequences. So the truth is, akin to not taking responsibilities is the fact that we do not want to deal with the consequences. Write that down too. Please write that down. And so we say, then of course, by and large, our fears we are going to give in to those fears, but there is a reason as to why that is being done. And I do believe that not accepting the consequences by and large speaks to why we do not want to take responsibilities. Conflict, fear of a fight. You know, some folks, even their own personal profile says, listen, man, for peace sake, I really don't like conflict, and so with that, they are very timid and reserved even as it relates to confronting. You know, sometimes you have a fight, you know. You heard me. Sometimes you have a fight. Yeah, man, you sometimes you have to stand up and take lick and give lick. Sorry. What do I mean by that? I'm not even just saying, I'm not just speaking physically fight. I'm talking from a psychological standpoint, where we just recognize that, hey, I have a part to play in this thing here. I have to be careful that I don't allow even my fears, again, because I've not given myself the power that you know, to feast them, I'll get beat up. You know, seriously, you know, I'm a short man, but I was even shorter growing up. And I'm telling you, you know, folks, I don't know. You know, if any of my, I don't know if any of my family is on. I should probably say, thank God, talking my family of origin, that is. But listen, I mean, I used to fight amazingly, and I'm not talking like a full fight, you know. I mean, physical fight. I mean, I was you know, and why so? And this is the honest truth now. This is not about me, but this is the honest truth. I never start a fight. But the fight always come to me because people think that I'm a pushover. And unfortunately, you know, when I stand my ground, they don't expect it. But and why? Because I said I'm going to give myself the power. I really believe in giving myself the power and stop allow people to regulate and dictate and decide what my life is going to look like, or even the outcome of my life and living. I do not give anyone that power. And unfortunately, so many persons try to you know, to utilize it, or to try to think that they can have that power, you know, over me. And again, it's not about me, but I'm just saying here, folks, it is very important that you don't allow those kind of fears to stop you from standing up for yourself and standing up for what you believe in, and standing up, you know, for your principles, and standing up for your values. You know, I oftentimes say to folks, people need to have a values profile, you know. but also have a price of admission. Yes, man, you must have a values profile and a price of admission. You must know what you are about. You know, you must know what you are about, and not people tell you, tell you what you are about. No, you must know what you are about, man. Once you know what you are about, I don't care if the entire world decide that they want to go in a particular direction. What are you about? And stop or follow people and even follow people's fears too, because people have them fears and they force those fears on us and we take them on. Our parents oftentimes force those fears on us. Hey, why I never fly yet, you know? I don't know if you must go fly, you know. Hey, you sure you want to go out on your own? You sure, you know, and so sometimes some of the things that they say to us, helps to create also those fears in us and makes us afraid to step out. To step out and to take on life and to decide what kind of life I want to live and where I want my life to turn up and where I want my life to turn up. And so I hope already you are hearing and understanding, folks, that don't let people also put their fears on you, force those fears on you, and where you become afraid to, so if parents, try to live vicariously through their children, and sometimes in so doing, they also share those fears with the children. Why we're afraid of a croaking lizard and flying roach? Why we're afraid of them? Sometimes when we grow up, because we see how people around us respond to them, call out Jesus, JC name every time, right? And croaking lizard and say, boy, we don't want to, our granny come back and all them something. Then like how them look and them walk and I'm just saying, why? Something, the truth be told, suppose you say, just suppose our children saw us squeezing those lizards in our hands. And when a roach come with us box it off like it's nothing. But unfortunately, what do they see? They see we scream and pop down the place and what have you. Some people can't even come in them house because one lizard inside there. Them are move left out, them are move out of them own yard because one lizard is inside there. Some folks have some examples of our dog, for the dog, and them confront them fears, not pointing their fingers and anybody name in the Smith family right there. But anyways. But I'm just saying here, folks, all I'm just saying here is that, listen, we there are times in which we have taken on those fears in and from people.
Yes, I do.
Again, in as much as they do have their place, though, some of these fears, they do have their place in what? Safeguarding us from overreacting and making mistakes. They many times, stifle us from being proactive and achieving our goals. So there are many causes to fears. COVID-19 clearly is one of them. And I've just shared some of the different things a while ago earlier, but also fear of failure. It is what if we fail? That is one of them. Fear of criticism. One about the car we eat that and say we're a fool. That's another one. Fear of problems. I am going to stop here and I'm going to put in, spend about 3 minutes, maybe 2 to 3 minutes, not more than 3 minutes, where I want to get some feedback right now based upon the things that I've shared so far. Talk to me about whether or not some of the very fears that you might have and if they are interfering with your progress also. Anybody?
Hello, good night.
Good night.
This is Cordella.
Okay, go ahead, Cordella.
Well, I think some of us have fear, like wanting to move on from a job or fear of losing a friend. So we tend not to make decisions because when we start afresh, that's what we're afraid of, the teething pain, the norming, the storming, and getting back to a position where we are comfortable. And because of that, we're fearful of leaving. Sometimes those relationships at work or the conditions are not good for us. Same way the relationship with the friends in quotation. And so we tend not to move and suffer the consequences.
Excellent, excellent. Um, can I just say something? Excellent, thank you very much, Cardella. Can I just quickly say something here too? Unless somebody else wants to say something, but let me say something and then somebody can quick jump on here. In light of what Cardella says, I think I'm going to put a word out there: feeling safe. Feeling safe. And then again, leave it right there. And folks, you can respond to that, but feeling safe. Is it Buff Bay who wants to speak? Anybody else? Feeling safe. Look like we're 2 minutes up, you know. All righty. Yes, sir. Go ahead, sir.
I was just saying that both they had opened their mic. I'm not sure if they wanted to speak.
Okay.
So go ahead. It's all right. I can.
All right then. Right. But feeling safe, and oftentimes you see, for us, the reasons why we become crippled by our fears is because we no longer what? Feel safe. And so by and large, here's what we have done. We feel like we have to put things in place to ensure that we feel safe so that you see, we can progress. So that we don't allow our fears to stifle us because we need to feel safe. So, and I would want to say in almost anything and in almost any areas of our lives, until we feel safe, we become very fearful in taking on the challenge. If we don't feel safe, we become very what? Fearful in taking on the challenge. So for many folks, listen, unless I feel like I will only take on the challenge if I am certain that I will not be rejected. I will only take on the challenge if I'm certain that I will be successful. I will only take on the challenge if I'm certain. And so for many folks, we really don't take on the challenge because we do not feel safe. We are not certain of the outcome. And so really and truly, we continue therefore to operate in fear. We continue to operate in fear. And so we're going to get into what are some things that we can do clearly. Yes, Brother Smith, you wanted to say something?
No, Alison had a chat question, which is kind of the opposite. The question of success, the fear of success. I can read it. What about the fear of succeeding? i.e. fearing that you won't be able to properly appreciate or handle what we want, that which we want?
The fear of success, really and truly, I would say that's an amazing phenomenon. And why I say that, because sometimes, again, we look at how other folks treat success. And if we see where the success has interfered again with what we dream, and I want to hear what I'm saying here. In other words, if when we look at somebody who's successful, and in our minds, it has taken away from their values profile or their price of admission. If it has taken away, if it's going to take them away, if it's going to take them away from their own ethics and what family should look like, if in their minds success is going to be more disastrous than positive, then really and truly, I am not going to pursue it, right? So really and truly, it is there, it is what they might look at. They might look at people who they deem to be successful. And since it does not, since it is more disastrous than positive for them, then by and large, they're going to say, hey, know something, I don't even want the thing there. As a matter of fact, so when you have the conversation with them, why are you fearful of success? They say, because this is what happened to rich people, and they start to name out all the negative things that happen to rich people, hence the fear of success. But what about those who says, yeah, but I, quite on the contrary now, I want to pursue success and wealth and these other areas in my life, because I'm at a place and a stage where, believe you me, if I had more resources, I'd be in a better position to have the very things that supports my values profile and my price of admission. Price of admission, when it's the third or fourth time I'm using that term. What do I mean by that? Meaning, again, it is closely associated with my values profile, but the idea here is that if you want to enter the national stadium to see one of our Olympians run, you really cannot go to grandstand with bleachers money. Okay, you really cannot go to where? To grandstand with bleachers money. If you want to get into grandstand, you better have grandstand money. But price of admission goes a little bit deeper than that. It is talking about how you value yourself and whether or not you're going to allow a situation or even persons to devalue you, to ask you for a discount and tell you what you're worth. Okay, that's what I mean by price of admission. It is the value that you put on yourself and not what people put on you, and even want to ask you for discounts, and you feel the necessity to do just that. So you sell your soul for a cup of soup. Anyway, let me move on. So I hope I kind of have dealt with maybe in a small way. I know there's another spin to it in relation to success, the fear of success. I don't know if you have something you want to add to that, Brother Smith, about the fear of success. If not, I can move on.
No, we can move on.
Okay. So talk about the fear of failures, the fear of criticism. That's a big one, why sometimes people don't even want to step out and do certain things because, listen, them can't take the knives. No, plenty of people can't take the knives, I bet you as soon as me, every time when me talk, somebody have something bad to say. Yeah, man. And I bet if I'm me I teach, you don't hear this. I bet if I'm me, I bet if you're me. And by the way, that can be real and it can be that, once you talk, then if somebody else say the same thing that I say, amazing, it is welcome and say, wow, wonderful words, good job. But make you say it. Same thing, you don't change, no, the structure of the sentence has not changed in one, with one iota, and yet because it came from you. And so unfortunately, again, go back to that word safe, because sometimes people do not feel safe, then really and truly, they're not going to take on certain tasks. If I try and do this, next thing I'm going to feel, imagine what people are going to say. They're going to come down upon me hard. So we're not going to even go there. Fear of, which is associated, of course, with the fear of problems. Now the results of fear. Robert Najimy, if that is his name or the pronunciation, in an article entitled "The Results of Fear," had the following to offer. He says, whenever we feel fearful, we seldom feel the confidence to try something new. We tend to stick to old habits and familiar ways. We fear the new and the unknown. Our lives become stale. Our lives become boring, habitual, meaningless, and without growth. And that is so true, because we're still allowing fear to drive us. Fear is also cause is also the cause and result of having a feeling rather of vulnerability and mistrust. When we feel insecure, we feel threatened by unfamiliar situations or people, thus explaining the development of hatred and humane intolerance. We mistrust each other and act in defensive and oftentimes offensive ways in order to protect ourselves from the imagined danger. This, of course, gives rise to anxieties and paranoia. And that is so true, folks. Talking about the results of fear. I'm going to share some other results of fear too. But really, really and truly, again, because we don't feel safe, one, we're not even going to take it on. But also two, it means that we're going to have to, at some phase or some stage in our lives, become vulnerable. Yeah, become vulnerable. Or have to develop some kind of trust towards somebody. That might happen because if trust has been broken, or if our vulnerability have been trodden upon, then in our minds, not it happen again. Once bitten, twice shy. And so because of that, you see, believe you me, even to forge and to form relationships, catch this, folks, we put on a bravado. Sometimes we have an overkill when it's really fear is driving the emotion. It's fear is even driving the approach. So because we don't want nobody to embarrass me, we become obnoxious and loud. Yeah. So I don't want nobody, so somebody might ask me for something. I remember one time, I think I got held up, you know, and I asked a gentleman, I said, so why couldn't they ask me rather than demand it from me? That's what I said. I said, you could have asked me, you know, rather than demand it from me, you know. You know, maybe I give it to you easily. And the man said, no, man, because I cannot afford for you to tell me no. And I'm trying to say to you, so sometimes, see, go back to the fear of rejection. Sometimes, you see, we behave quite the opposite. And sometimes an overkill way that is concerned. Why? But it's really fear that is driving it. We don't feel safe and we cannot deal with the rejection. So sometimes, you know, so I use that example. I would love if somebody could come up with another example where there's, you know, possibly an overkill or an overcompensation. That's the word I'm also looking for. Really and truly. So to hide, so we hide behind a facade or a mask when really and truly we are fearful. So because we do not want to expose and show our vulnerability to that fear, you know, we behave as if to say, listen, I'm good man, I'm nice. You know, when really and truly we are dead inside, you know, or no man. I don't remember where I got this thing from, but I don't remember. But again, go there and talk about. Again, say it's like somebody said, touch a button now. You know, so when you're growing up, you know, you run after the person. Yeah, somebody come and you know, do something to you. Oh yes, I remember it's Engel. I was having a conversation with. Or sometimes, you know, we're probably in a fight or something like that with somebody or whatever, and the person hit us and run or whatever. And then we run down the person. I'm going to catch that. Or even a thief. I'm going to run down the thief. I'm going to catch the thief. We're like, so what's the next move? Because we really expect to catch the thief, you know. So we run down the person like to have the power to do something about it. And when the thief himself now or herself stand up to us now and say, all right then, since you run me now, I'm tired of run now. We're like, okay, I feel better if I kept on running still now. And I'm, right, and that's what, and I guess that's what I'm saying here. Some silly examples, of course, but that's what I'm kind of saying here, that sometimes we overcompensate when true that in fact it is fear that is driving the behavior. Oftentimes when we fear, our reason is nullified, our imagination runs wild, creating the worst possible scenarios, which usually far from the actual reality. Anybody want to say anything? We have 2 minutes on this one about the results of fear. The results of fear.
I have a question though. This is Curtis Abraham from Canada.
Go ahead.
I must say that I enjoy your presentation thus far. But while you were speaking, I was thinking about the possibility where you said that we have to value ourselves. And I think you are absolutely correct in that. But what do you say to an individual who actually has a healthy self-esteem, but he or she functions amongst individuals who have unhealthy self-esteem? And as a result of their unhealthy self-esteem, they actually try to convince him or her that, you know, you have an unhealthy self-esteem. What do you say to an individual in a context like this?
You know, one of the things, and by the way, it's a powerful question, Curtis. And I tell you why, because the truth be told, that's exactly what continuously drives a lot of relationships in the work environment, in our social lives, and maybe in a very minimal way in our home lives. But by and large, you'll find it in our work environment and in our social lives, where people will start to label you and call you show off. And you use and so because of that, is that they need to teach you a lesson. I want to show you that, listen, it's not so you must behave. You must learn to be humble, you know, and really want to change you. When in truth and in fact, it is, they're really forcing on you their own maladjusted behavior, their own insecurities. It is really their fears. And so because you see, sometimes they're also jealous of the fact that you can stand up for what you want and what you believe in, and have decided to take the power, you know, and not allow a person's opinion to regulate and dictate who you are and what you become. And so because you have self-efficacy and emotional intelligence, because you have those things going for you, folks who are lacking in those areas will start to label you and start to say you have narcissistic personality disorder and a host of different things. Why? Because you learn to say no thank you. So that's what you can say. You can learn to tell people no thank you. You know, they say, well, okay, that's how you feel, and you have to manage how you feel. And in a very unique way, I similarly need to manage how I feel. But this is who I have identified myself and how I've identified myself. You know, when I'm in some of my sessions, I have a mirror. And sometimes I ask folks to stand in front of that mirror, Curtis, and I say, compliment yourself. I said, what? Compliment yourself. And Curtis, believe you me, the amount of time people stand up and go, me know what to say. So till this Curtis, I have to start compliment them for them. I said, look at this one, look at that, what are that, you know, and things like that. So if they start with the outward, then they start to talk about the inward. But I'm just kind of saying here, it's amazing. And so you can start by just saying, no, thank you. You know, and not necessarily take what they think or even how they feel about you to regulate who you are and what you become. Because the truth is, everybody gave an opinion about you, whether positive or negative. And believe you me, it can become quite frustrating if you try to satisfy everybody's opinion about you in you. Okay, so I hope that helps.
Thank you so much.
Pleasure. Okay, let me move on with the results of fear. I'm not checking the chats, you know, so the results of fear. One more result here and then we can move on again. The following F's can also be a result of our fears. Freeze, you know, when, you know, because, you know, we hear something, we feel immobilized by it, you know, literally. We don't want to be a loud noise, a loud clap, somebody frighten you, and you freeze and drop away in your hand or what have you, and everything, literally, you know. So that can be another result of fear. You know, you know something, you're fearful. You say, you're frightening me, and something you're vexed. and do something else, right? But I'm just saying here, that is one of the things, and I'm certain other folks can add into the chat, or you can mark up and state some of the other attending behavior or reaction, I should state, or to freeze. Also fright, you're in shock, and oftentimes you even start to tremble for some folks. Some people get becomes is in so much fright that them can possibly get a heart attack if you're not careful. And so I'm just kind of saying here that is another can be, let me use that word, can be a result of fear, or even our fears. So maybe in the past we heard some loud noise, and it produced some type of trauma in our own lives and living, and any kind of loud noise now serves as a trigger to that trauma, and so we become fearful of anything loud and any kind of loud noises, really, and we make our different associations with it, and it again cripples us. Fright. The next F is flight. Some folks, because of their fears, say, no, sir, you can go on. Me not go on there. Me not doing this. And so, and take themselves away, take themselves out of danger, so to speak, because again, they need to do something to ensure that it will not adversely impact them, or put them into a place where they feel immobilized and cannot do something about it. Hence the flight. And of course, the fight. A lot of folks, because of their own fears, they might be backed up into a corner. They feel they cannot do nothing else but to defend themselves. I have to fight. Enough is enough. I'm sorry. I run out of cheeks now. It's a turn out of cheek. But anyway, I'm not going to make people take step on me or take, as we'd say in Jamaica, take disadvantage of me. And so as a result of that, we say no. And even sometimes people use a lot of gaslighting. We're not going to go through that anymore, but use a lot of gaslighting also to create those fears in us. And then by and large, some folks, once they come to their senses, hopefully through programs like these that we are presenting from the Center of the Church of Christ, that we say, yeah, enough is enough. No, I'm not going to do this. I'm certain we could even come up with some biblical examples where some folks overcame their own fears. David is one of those persons that kind of jump out in my head, in my mind, that say, look here, no. I am not going to freeze because of Goliath and these Philistines. I mean, I have to get frightened by the rest of them when they see this giant come, when they cower into fear. No, I'm not into that. I'm not going to run with, definitely. And come out and say, oh, gang thing there, and young David say, I don't even want the armor. I have enough tools. I can fight. Okay, I am going to fight. Joshua, and he said, choose ye this day whom you will serve. But as for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. Elijah, with people who want to kill him and what have you, and not only that, but even amongst the prophets, the false prophets, and he stand up to them. And I'm just saying a host of different examples we can have that speaks to areas in which we would have conquered our fears and not freeze or allow fright and flight, but indeed fight. No. Let me quickly say this. It is important that we build muscle memory. We build what? Muscle memory. Because what we don't want to do, we do not want to freeze when we should be running. Man, you lick it down, and you stand up and get licked down. Right? One gentleman told me that literally his son, he saved his son's life because he kept on, while he was in his own development with his child, he kept on teaching him certain skills and certain tools. he would share with him. For example, he would say to him, listen, whenever I say something to you, whatever you're doing, I want you to respond immediately to my statement, especially if it is, if it's loud and commanding. And so one day he ran out of his dad's hand, and he was running across the road or something to that effect. And he said, he called his name and says, freeze! And the boy just stopped right in his tracks. And thank God he stopped, because if he went any further, an oncoming vehicle would have taken his life. Strong possibility. And so he said, freeze! And that was it. And that's what the boy responded to, because he didn't see the impending danger. Okay, so I'm just saying those muscle memories are important because what we don't want to do, we want to ensure that we don't react in a particular way when in truth and in fact, and then when we're not getting the attending results now, we continue to feel unsafe and not plugging forward, so to speak. Okay, so building the muscle memories is very, very important to ensure that we are not allowing our fears to immobilize us. Okay. There are some things that happen to people who allow their fears and their feelings to overcome those feelings. And here are some things: cannot sleep, feel very tired. Some people have intrusive thoughts, nightmares, literally, by the way. And a lot of nightmares, poor concentration, memory problems, which is associated with the poor concentration and have difficulty thinking clearly. All those three come together. Suffer from headaches because of your own fears, because you drum up some things in your head. You don't even have the facts. Drum it up into your head, and boy, and so you become panic and full of anxieties. Why? Because you are reacting or responding, even let me use the word reacting to our fears. Suffer from headaches, experience changes in appetite, your sex drive change, headaches and aches and pains, rather than feel that your heart is beating faster, which is akin to panic attacks. And so what we're saying here is because, again, of those fears. And that's why it is important, folks, for us to learn to manage and to deal with those fears. I don't know if anybody have any questions that they want to ask me as yet, because I would just like to use the rest of my time now to get into some solution. Anybody? Any comments? Any questions? Anything in the chat? Okay. Look like I'm doing well. Okay. Now, looking at our COVID-19, and I'm going to go there. I spoke about several other areas already. So now I'm coming into this one. So what I cannot say, hey, I lean one side. I spoke of several different things. Now I come right here. But even our response to COVID, and this is not even my information. This is the information that came from our Jamaican government. And so what we saw when COVID-19 started is there was the fear zone, and how we reacted because we did not feel safe. And we just had to get enough for myself. Somebody might ask, where was our faith? But notwithstanding, some folks says, thank God me get, because see just some of me never get. And so sometimes we look at other folks who did not make the same approach like we did. And because they suffered, because they did not make the approach like we, because they did not allow their fears to drive them. They were too relaxed. And look at what is happening to them. Then we continue to allow our fears to drive us, because in our minds, the fear has delivered us. Write that down. In our minds, what? The fear has delivered us. So you can't come tell me about what crippled and all those things. Thank God that I have always given in to my fears, because I can show you that in giving in to my fear, I was able to do this. I overreacted, some folks might say, but see there, I have more teeth than anybody else. You can open a factory now. I know it's not funny, but if it's funny to me, I'm not gonna laugh. I'm sorry. Right? But I'm not saying. So you find that some folks, because they respond to their fears in that particular way, and they take comfort in the fact that, listen, my fears is because of those fears why I am where I am and who I am, so to speak. So you do have some folks, as far as they're concerned, it is working for me. Somebody might ask me the question, so what do you say to persons like that? I hope you don't ask me that question. So moving on. Moving on. Then you have now the learning zone though. Because the truth is, what we do know by and large is that we see where fear does have more of a negative than a positive impact on people's lives. That's what we do know. That's what is measured. So we need to move to a different place. And the question is, are we prepared to overcome those fears? Are we prepared to learn? Are we prepared to go and get the facts rather than continue to give room to our superstitions, rather than continue to give room to our feelings, rather than continue to give room to those emotions, and we do not have the facts to generate the appropriate response. So are we prepared to learn? And that's the question. Are we prepared to come to lessons like these and sessions like these and find out and get the information? And then are we prepared to put that information into practice so as to ensure that there's growth? So we do not know, and that growth now becomes our new norm. So even whenever COVID-19 happens, it's amazing how people used to respond to it. But now people are responding a little bit different to COVID-19, and other folks are taking a lot more risk than what they used to. Really, maybe because they didn't understood it then. But a lot more folks now are saying, hey, even to take the shots, the AstraZeneca, I think that's the one that we're using here, right? Even to take our shots. Some folks were allowing their fears to say, listen, what people may say kill, it's this and this and that. And so because of that, look here, me not take it, you can't stay there. Or then you say, when them juky and all of these theories that them have, or conspiracy theories that they might have about, is the richest man, or which man I try to put one thing inside away, a chip inside of us, and of course some different things out there, what have you. And look what can happen to us in 3 years' time. Just wait, man, in 3 years' time, look what can happen to it, So we have all these things, and some of the concerns were quite legitimate also, to say, listen, when you're going to work on any type of vaccine, it take years to develop those vaccines, okay? And so in this, you have this very short span of time, in no time. So in the mind, they said, then hold on a minute. Then, so if that be the case, then we don't even take so long with vaccine going forward again, then, man. Look at them, they exploit the thing, man. Make sure enough people dead out first. Sorry, I shouldn't go there, so that's not nice. But I'm just saying here, if it didn't have to think, then, so of course I know a lot of money and funding had to come into this thing here. But by and large, I'm saying here, folks, can we measure where we were to where we are now? Is it that we still are reacting to our fears? Or do we find that as we learn more, we see growth in our own lives and living? How do we overcome our fears? Give me a second here. Right. Napoleon, Emperor of French, 1769 to 1821, and one of the greatest military commanders in history, he said, "He who fears being conquered is sure of defeat." He who fears being conquered is sure of defeat. So I say to you, as I do myself, we must not allow our fears to defeat us. We have a passage in the Bible, 2 Timothy chapter 1, verse 7, says we are commanded not to have a spirit of fear, For God gave us not a spirit of fearfulness, but of power, love, and discipline. So that PLD, power, love, and discipline, amazing. It can speak to power here. I must admit, I put the word faith in my mind. I'm not saying that's what it meant, but faith is what jumped out at me when I use the word power right here. And love is trust. And discipline, come what may, this is what I'm going to do. That is one of the things that that Mark, I am, it's an interpolation, okay? It's not an exegesis now. But I'm saying here, when I use the word power here, I put what? Faith. Love, what did I say I put for love again? One of the things that I put for love is trust, is almost, is vulnerability almost, if you want to put it out there. Is giving people a chance, is making love emanate from me. And not necessarily where people decide what love look like in me and even of me. And discipline that says, I'm going to do this, come at me. I know this is a circumstance, I know this is happening, I know this is crumbling, but this is what I am going to do. That's what kind of jump out at me. And so again, by the way, the Greek word here is dilia, and dilia denotes what? Moral cowardice and timidity, and is never used in a good sense. It is an inward sense of fear. Look it up. When he says, I'm not giving you what? The spirit of fear. Go and look it up, folks. I'm saying amazing, even the Bible states that, listen, this is not something, when you have this kind of fear that is interfering with how you function and what you do, then he said, listen, that's not the spirit. And so God make way. Okay. or intended, rather, let me put it that, or intended for us to function and or operate. So we understand now. Now I can appreciate Napoleon's statement. He who fears being conquered is sure of defeat. So folks, we have to take the risk. Some of them might be calculated, but we have to take the risk. We have to take the risk. And okay, let me move on. We're talking about how can we overcome our fear. There are 5 common steps in doing so. One, we have to analyze the fear. Can it harm me in any way? If it can, then there's nothing to be afraid of. Okay? Can it harm me? If it can't harm you, then we're afraid for. No, seriously, this might sound away, but it's true. You have to look at it and say, hold on a minute. It makes sense to fear that lizard, yeah? Because every time when I come near the lizard run, some folks say, yeah, but the lizard, yeah, some lizard run after you, you know. Yeah, me understand you, but me remember one time I grew up, we used to go up and catch ground lizard. Some big green and a brown, green and gray ground lizard, and I don't call them gravel lizard or whatever, them going under in the ground or have holes in the ground and live, and some have some big ones. But some of them lizards, because we used to run after them and beat them and throw stone after them and things like that. Sometimes, if I'm mad, then get mad and turn back and decide to take it to it. You see? Them, you know what I like about those lizards? They overcame their fears. Then beside them, now go freeze, but them go fight. Can stay one place, then get licked and get pelt. All I'm just saying here, folks, but I did something about it. Just like the cat, you know. When it goes, the cat run away and that, take away itself. But back up that cat in the corner. And the cat will show its claws. In your mind, it says, listen, all right then. The cat will turn in a lion. Right? Right? So I'm just saying here, folks, but is it, can this fear harm me? If it can't harm it, then what am I afraid for? Really? Okay? That's the first thing. The next thing too, and by the way, don't make, because other people afraid, you're gonna go follow them. Because everybody afraid, I think that you feel it is justifiable for you to do the same. No, man. Don't do that. Look at what others are doing. For example, if you see where, going on a roller coaster, and you see we have those terrible roller coasters Well, believe you me. But if you look and see some picnic enjoy themselves and some 50-year-old and 60-year-old enjoy themselves. So nobody talk about me now going night. No, man, you're good man. Your heart might feel like a drop out, but I guarantee you, the more you do it, and the less your heart will feel like a drop out. But you just feel like it's a drop out still, you know. Because every time your heart feel like it's a drop out, you ever think about, oh, have the ground yet? You see, that's another way of analyzing the feeling. Every time when you go down and you say, your heart feel like, you say, no, sir. The question is, nobody never take it up off of the ground yet. I say, but I feel like my heart come to my mouth. When the swallow it that come to it more. But now come out, that's impossible, by the way. And I'm just saying here, folks, you know, just look at what I'm thinking. I say, all right. And I tell you what, the more you do it, you know, it's like a pain threshold changes because the more you do it, all right? Also confront whatever you're afraid of directly. And some of you, like I said, I've presented something like this, if not the same thing. I have a little bit more new things added to this one, of course. But you have to confront the fear sometimes. Fight. Take it to it. Make fear a keep and I decide and I tell you what to do. So, all right, I don't know what the outcome game look like. You know, but hey, nothing beats a try but a failure to try. Yeah, but what if me here? Well, that's why you're right. This no move on now. Because what if I kill you? Well, listen. But what if I succeed? You always talk about what if in a negative way. But what if I succeed too? Look at what it will achieve for me if I succeed. So you know what happened? You have to confront it. Yes, man. I'm not going to tell you. Some of you know my story already. You can ask me in the chat if you don't know my story about the lizard and how I conquered my fears with that lizard. But you can ask me the question if you have such an interest. Also, if your fear is truly dangerous, find a way to treat it. So we're not asking you to be ignorant of some of these fears, because as we stated earlier, sometimes these fears, thank God for them, because they have a part to play in delivering us from danger. You heard me. They have a part to play to what? In delivering us from danger. Did you know that, let's say you had an accident somewhere, going over a flat bridge, and you're going to drive back. You're going to drive to go back over a flat bridge, but the only way to get back home, you have to come back over flat bridge again, although you had the accident. And it was terrible, okay? But you have to come back over flat bridge to come back home. Even if you stayed in a particular location for, let's say, 3 weeks to recover, a month to recover, you have to come back over. Anyway, coming over and so when you reach near flat bridge, you're going to have palpitation of the heart, you know? And your nerves are going to shake up, you know? And you're going to be uncomfortable, you know? By the way, you know, so we're talking about things that is normal. It is normal for you to have these emotions. But did you know that those emotions that you're having were not meant to stifle you, but to empower you? Ah, ladies and gentlemen, they were not designed to what? To stifle us, but to empower us. To remind us of, hey, remember what happened right here now. So be cautious. Be cautious now. Don't be flippant and you know, in your approach. So be conscientious and be cautious about your approach, because remember what happened. So it was there. So even those anxieties that you're feeling, it is there for you to take keen note and not become distracted now by anything or by anyone, because you need to navigate your way safely through this area or through this point. You know, or even through this experience. So those thoughts that you're having, they are there not to cripple you, but to re-inform you. That is what they are there for. And so each time they reach your mind, you need to reframe those thinking. Because if you don't reframe the thinking and have the same ugly thinking, then those fears that is supposed to re-inform you, for you to reframe your experience, if you don't do that, then understand that those fears continue to immobilize you and possibly put you in further danger, now, because now you find yourself overreacting to your own fears, okay? I hope that, is new information or good information for some. So if you change the way you think, you can change the way you act. You can control your thoughts, whatever a negative thought or fear, whenever rather a negative thought or fear enters, simply choose to stop it right in its tracks and immediately change that thought to something positive. The key term here is to deliberately program right thoughts into your head every single day. Stop saying, I'm afraid of lizard. So sometimes you hear yourself say certain things. So when you think, when it confronts you, because you have been saying this, because you have been making yourself a victim to it so much, then what do you think going to win? Who you think is going to lose? So I'm saying here, stop saying, well, I'm afraid of people. I'm afraid of relationship. I'm afraid of rejection. I'm afraid of. And you can come up with a whole heap of different things where you think you're afraid of. I'm afraid of this. I'm afraid of that. I'm afraid of this. And all I was saying here, why am I know when did I do? You know that statement? Why am I know when did I do if this ever happened to me? Is it those statements? It simply means that you say you are not putting yourself in a position to do something positive about it. So stop talking about, why am I know when did I do? Well, say something different like, why if it happened to me? Some folks would say, why, when I reach that bridge, I'll cross it. I understand that statement. Whereas another person will say, listen, me not gonna roll over like Rover. Me not gonna roll over like Rover. You think like your man wants something? You must be mad. Bite what? Most of my back and bite. I give him something for bite. I have my business for go. I have my place for go. Right? If you understand what I'm saying, you have some folks who says, no. So they have already made up their minds that, listen, this is the kind of outcome. They've already made up their minds. What is it? The 3 Ds. Their decision determines their destiny. Say it again, Andre. Their decisions determines their destiny. Done. You can't stay there. Earthquake, COVID, whatever. And so some folks say this is the new norm. And someone might even ask the question, so when do you say okay, then no matter what you do, then this is what you have to do? Well, we can talk about that. We can talk about that in the question. But by and large, I'm saying, folks, if we continue to react to our fears, believe you me, then sometimes we can't even allow one person to continue to manage our lives and live in, one person. I don't think we should. When really and truly that person is projecting their own fears on you. One person. And then you wonder why your life, is not coming out the way you want it to come out. That's all I'm saying. You can take what you want to take from this and discard what you want to discard from this. It's on you still. But I hope that in what I'm trying to present and share here, you must come out feeling empowered. That's the point. You must come out feeling empowered. I've added a 6th and we did a 7th one. Be a lover of God and self and others. Why? Because it is the love of God that will compel us to do the right thing in spite of our fears. Hebrews chapter 13 verse 6 says, so we say with confidence, the Lord is my helper. I will not be afraid. What can mere mortals do to me? I will not be afraid. He said, fear not the man that can harm the body, but cannot harm the soul, but fear him that can harm both body and soul in hell. See? the person who must be fearful of and have awe and respect towards. You know, we worship and create and we worship the creature rather than the creator. You know, and all I'm just saying, we have even biblical passages that supports the type, that kind of stance that we must take in relation to our affairs. Just saying. To manage our affairs, we're closing, giving you something, but we're closing now. To manage our affairs, we need to know how faith, fact, and feeling impact functionality. To manage our affairs, let me just go to ensure, right? Okay, soon finish. To manage our affairs, we need to know what? How faith, fact, and feeling impact our functionality. Ladies and gentlemen, we must have, by the way, please write down my name and most of these things, right? Especially this one here, right? But I put faith as number one, but faith can also be number two. What do I mean by that? You see, if we believe what the Word of God says, if we believe about what the Word of God says, then automatically our fears remain in its individual context. Or we allow the Word of God to reframe our fears. We allow the Word of, for example, that's what I mean by reframing. Take, for example, that passage in Hebrews 13, verse 6. I will not be afraid what mere mortals can do to me. You see, that passage calls you now to reframe how you normally feel towards bad man and gunman and all kind of man and woman who feel like, boy, you must turn your house into prison. You must do what? Turn your yard, your home into what? Prison. Watching something recently, you know, where this lady have an open letter asking the government to come and help her into her little society where she lives, you know, and she's just saying that, boy, amazing, yeah, side folks who come into there and tell them, say, listen, it's time to go in. Time to go into your yard. And the sense amazing, right? So you are able to reframe your own fears now, because who you can afraid of now? So yeah, I said, hold on there. Yeah, I'm afraid of you for. Not that I'm supposed to be afraid of more than you. Yeah. So, sorry, somebody want to say something? All right. That's something there. Sorry, Brother Smith is saying something?
Roseanne Garcia wants to say something.
All right, go ahead. Go ahead, Roseanne.
Oh, I didn't. Oh, no, I didn't have my hand up. I'm sorry.
Okay. Okay. All righty. Thanks.
Unmute your mic. It's okay.
All righty. So what we're saying here is, folks, is that faith. Do I allow my faith to regulate and dictate how I function? My faith. Your faith can also be a philosophy. You know, what you believe or don't believe, literally. Because oftentimes our faith that regulate what we do or don't do, for that matter. So faith. But the fact, what is the fact? I'm going to tell make up a fictitious story about my wife. So somebody called her and said to her, hey, you know, she spent some money and used the credit card, and she said, hey, listen, man, you need to put back this money that I spent on the credit card. And I said to her, okay then, so how much is it? $100,000. I said, no problem. Worst that is me to spend it on. Right? So I said, okay, I'm going to give it back to you. She got a call from the bank, and the bank says, hey, by the way, I have $100,000 to give you, but you need to come in and sign something so as to get it. So she says, what kind of nonsense is this? What kind of gimmick is this? I think I can waste my time and go down that bank to fill out anything for $100,000. You know? So then, of course, when she shared that information with me, I thought, wow, I could earmark now this money for something else. I didn't have to give it back to you now, since this money is coming in from the bank. So I said, hey, so why don't we go down there and fill it out and get the money? She says, I'm not going to waste my time. Well, it so happens that it was authentic. She really had $100,000. I went as far as to say, I tell you what, when we go down there, if we go down there and it is a fib, then guess what happened? There's no need for you to think there, because a story is a lie, nothing to go. But at least I'll give you back your $100,000 right there. If on the other hand, it is a fact, then of course you have to find the $100,000 on your own. because remember, you don't believe in a dopey story, okay? Well, went down there, the money was factual. My rules did not hold up. Still have to give her, matter of fact, give her all the money, both 100 and the next one I had to. All right. What I'm making do is see, what was she responding to? She was responding, folks, to her feelings, or even what she believed, and not the fact that, hey, we have $100,000 to give to you. And so often, in so many times, we have allowed our feelings to interfere with what God's word says about fear and how we should respond to it. And we can come up with even some fictitious story to decide or to undo what God's word says. Because he who feels it knows it. That kind of narrative says, yeah, but this is my experience, and my experience is going to even overcome my faith. Okay? My experience bailed me out. My experience did this to my experience. So because I had fearful experiences, thank God I responded to my fears, because look at my outcome. So now we see, even we can decide to get rid of the word of God and just rely on our experiences. Because in listening to my experiences, look at what it has achieved for me over the years. I'm saying, but in truth and in fact, folks, we need all three for our functionality: faith, fact, feeling. Our problem is we replace and displace faith, fact, and feeling, which then interferes with the appropriate functionality. My argument is, folks, faith must be there. Then after faith, we get the facts. Now, do not try and use your faith to determine the fact. You heard me. Do not use your faith to determine the fact. Some folks says, listen, well, I don't care. I believe this and I believe that. I believe that if I light the matches, it get out before it burn my finger. And then when your finger get burned, you start scratching your head and say, why? I feel so disappointed. Don't use your faith to determine the facts. Two different things, folks. Okay? Just because I believe that my phone is ice cream don't mean that I must treat it like it. Again, start lick my phone because I believe it's ice cream. Okay? Don't allow your faith to determine the fact. That's all I'm saying here. And worst of all, do not allow your feelings to regulate faith or fact. Not at all. No, people can take me out on that, but do not do that, folks. Have their faith, have their fact, and let those two regulate the appropriate feelings. Once you do that, then you'll have the appropriate functionality. These are some of the ways we can overcome our fears. As I close, let me run through these and give an opportunity to ask me some questions. Psychological solutions. Some people see change as a threat to the control that they have over their lives and an unwelcome disruption of the consistent relationship they enjoy between expectations and reality. What am I saying here? That if we're going to have to change literally or make ourselves susceptible and vulnerable to make changes and stop allow our fears to still regulate and decide our outcome. We're going to have to, which then means that I will not be able to control my outcome every aspect of my lives and living. I will not be able to do that. So just because I don't know so water is down there, so don't mean say, well, okay, I now go down there until I know so water down there. So I'm saying, thank God my man explored and somebody said it was not lost. But I was going to say, and discovered Jamaica. but they were the ones who found it. Not that Jamaica was lost. It was always there. But they went on, you know, on their journeys and found that the different places that existed. Okay, and I'm saying because they went out there, nobody knew where Jamaica was going to be. None of those folks knew, you know, where these places were going to be unless they took, you know, they took a chance. Okay, they took a chance and they went out. Okay, that's all I'm saying here. The key is how we view change and our level of acceptance of uncertainty. Very often we will not, very often rather, it's not the event, but the worry about what will I do and how will I function? And that's the reason why we continue to allow fear to drive us from a psychological standpoint. I'm saying step out. So don't surrender to your circumstances. Talking about the solution. What you must do, don't surrender to your circumstances. We'll have to carry disappointment at some point in our lives, but will we allow it to weigh us down or weaken our testimony or strengthen us for the greater good? That is the question, okay? Don't let, see that just because you go and the very things that you feared came into fruition. You say, see that? I know I shouldn't do it enough. And so therefore you're now going to try again, okay? When in truth and in fact, if you had tried one more time, you would have reaped an amazing reward and success. Just saying, folks, just saying, okay? We know the story about the man that discovered the light bulb, so to speak, after trying for almost 1,000 times to do just that, okay? So we're saying here, folks, don't let it weaken us. It takes great courage to allow the fire to refine you when someone is guilty of lighting the matter. Ignore that one there. I am saying here, folks, in pushing forward, let your observation take precedence over your expectation. In pushing forward, okay? So something happened right here, sir. Well, just react according to what is happening in the moment, but don't allow that to determine whether or not you're going to try again. Okay, that's what I mean. Let me close with these departing words. During one of the battles of Shiloh at the Civil War, a young boy who was serving as a drummer for a northern regiment was ordered to beat attack. Responding to his sharp summons, the troops stormed up a hill, but met fierce enemy fire and came to a halt. The captain called to the boy to beat retreat. The boy drummed, but again he beat attack. I said retreat, the officer shouted. Tears came to the boy's eyes. Captain, he answered, attack is all I know. They never taught me the beat of retreat. And so hearing the familiar signal, the men resumed their onslaught and to their own surprise captured and took the hill. During the tenor of our lives and living, we will come up against obstacles and strong oppositions, but we must not give up. We must not retreat. Our commanding officer, God, or the head of wherever we might be, well, let me talk about God right here, will not command us or give us the beat of retreat, especially if the battle is at its peak. The only tune that the soldier knew was the beat of attack. Equally, the only melody we should play when in battle is the beat of attack. Although the temptation rather is to retreat, we must not yield to do such. Why? Because you were not schooled to carry out this order. I hope and trust that this presentation found a place in our hearts, minds, souls, and body. If it was new to us, thank you. I hope it is good information for you or your civ. If you have heard it before, I hope that it will reinforce some tools and some steps that you must take to ensure that you do not retreat. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Are there any questions, comments? Anybody wants to comment? I have a comment, I have a question. And it's for both the audience and Brother Andre, which is, would you like to have another session where we can maybe look at one or two of the fears that are troubling you and examine them a little more closely? If that is the case, this is the time for us, or if you believe the matter has been dealt with adequately, then we can close it off here. My own belief is that it requires a follow-up session, but who am I? I'm just asking the question here for both audience and Brother Andre, where we could actually look at one or two more of the, one or two of the areas that people have issues with to see. So, but however, if you're satisfied and you don't need it, then let's move on. So Deborah is saying, yes, we could be more specific, dealing with some of the issues. So, yeah, she's saying this was very good though. Yeah, so hold on, my question, by the way, my statement should not in any way diminish how great this was. This is really powerful. But and that is why I'm saying I think we could actually get some more without actually getting too much into Brother Andre's counseling. So what is the thinking? Yes?
I think I would say yes to this if we have another session.
Okay. Brother Andre, I'm not hearing you. I'm putting you in a corner, like the cat, so you can actually
You can lead it.
pause.
You can take it, and I will support.
No, me? All right, so we're looking at August the 21st. Yeah, I think it's an important subject. And our fears, sometimes we don't even recognize it as that. So there's a piece of it that we could talk about, limiting factors, things that are, we're blindsided by, that really we're not achieving what we could achieve, and we're not really sure why. We're not even, maybe not even be uncomfortable because we're not aware that we are being limited. It could be that something is holding us back, but we don't recognize that because we have brought ourselves to the place where we feel as if, yeah, this is us. This is what I can expect. And so those are some of the things that I think we could look at it more closely. You agree with that? I should also want to inform you. Let me borrow your.
Okay, go ahead. Sorry. Yes.
No, go.
No, man.
Okay. All right. I just wanted to indicate that this thing is available. Right. And yeah, so we want to invite you to participate in our worship service. We worship at 9. You can use this very same link with the same password. And we have a Bible class immediately after. And our midweek Bible class is on Tuesdays at 6:30 Jamaica time. The content is available at these locations. So if you go on the website, standardchurchofchrist.org media, you can access all the NAV live sessions. It's on YouTube, youtube.com/c/simplychristiansja. It's there. Also on facebook.com/simplychristiansja. So you can access all of the Nav Life content from way back when and going forward. If you could invite persons, we would really appreciate it. So that's basically what I wanted to share. So let me just cover the chat. Okay, somebody said I missed the beginning, but it was great. Many persons are afraid embarking on starting a new business or venture. Yes, I was speaking to somebody just today about that they had ideas, but they just never paid any mind. Because again, the feeling is, yeah, it's a dream. I think if we look some more into some of that dreaming, we would achieve a lot more. I think our success at the Olympics, not looking at the traditional winners, but the people like a Parchment or so that come through against the odds. That's one of the things that we have to look at. Is that we have a sense of being able to overcome all the doubts in your mind. You have to banish them. And so powerful stuff today, sir. And look forward to the 21st. So it's the first and the third Saturdays. If you got benefit from this, please just advise people. Just get the link. It's 689-511-348. We're going to use that same Zoom link and the password 77123. Just pass it on. First, third Saturdays, 6:30 p.m. Jamaica time, which would be what, 7:30 Eastern time, Eastern Daylight Time, so, or Eastern Caribbean time. So we're there. All right. Last word to anybody who wants to share. Excellent stuff, Brother Andre. Yeah. If you say you serve it already, man, it looks as if they warm up, make it nicer. I don't remember this, but it's good. Loved it. So right, this lizard that is making the sound beside me, I'm not to be afraid then, right? It can't hurt me, right? I can move from under my desk. All right. Okay. Okay. So thank you. We're off. We're done. May God bless you. Keep you safe. Until tomorrow at 9 a.m. And we'll see you on Tuesday and then on the 21st. That's what I want to do. Good job.
Okay. Bye-bye. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.